Welcome boys. In this video we're going to be replacing the lower ball joint on the passenger side of our 02 Crown Vic and the sway bar end link. I've already replaced the ones on the driver's side, so we won't be covering that in this video, and having done that already, I know how to make this side go slightly faster than the previous side, and I'll share those tips and tricks with you. So, first things first, get your wheel off, 21 millimeters, hold the lugs on. You'll need a jack to jack your car up, we've already done. You are going to need a second jack as well. And the reason for that is going to be, once we disconnect the sway bar end link, and the ball joint, this knuckle is going to be kind of loosey-goosey. This thing's going to be kind of down and in the way because there's a load on it, because we only have one side of the car jacked up, and you're not going to be able to get your sway bar end link back in unless you jack it up from this lower control arm with the other jack. That's going to come into play later as well when we address the lower ball joint, pressing it back in, but you'll see that when we get there, so stay tuned for that. This is not a hard job. You'll need a few specialty tools and mostly hand tools, and we don't have to disconnect as much stuff as I think you would if you had like the 03 and up suspension. The town car is back there, but I don't feel like taking the wheel off to kind of show you the difference. But if you go and watch the video where I tell you how to grease your upper ball joints, you can get a look at how the 03 suspension differs from the 02. In this case, there's shock absorbers in here, so none of that's in our way. We will not have to disconnect the upper ball joint to get to the lower. We can press it out of there with the knuckle intact. The only things we really need to remove are caliper, not the bracket, just the caliper itself. That's going to need to come out of the way. And then once we disconnect the sway bar end link, we'll move that knuckle out of the way and we'll show you how you can get the lower ball joint off. And then pressing it in, that's what's going to be the fun part. So, we have over here an assortment of tools. You will see a ball joint press kit and a ball joint press kit. You may be saying to yourself, well, Hollywood, why do you have two ball joint press kits? Duh. Well, so if you have a lift, this job's going to be way easier, and you're only going to need one ball joint press kit. However, if you're like me, and, you know, physics are a thing, and the ground's only so far between the car and your tools, you're going to find out real quick when you try to press it back in with this impact and this massive C-clamp with this long thing, you're going to find out real quick it doesn't fit. So you have to modify yours. Yeah, this used to be attached to it. Cut it in half with that. So when it comes time to press this ball joint out, I went ahead and bought another kit. That way we have a nice long one for us to redo that. And you might be saying, well, wait a minute, Hollywood, how are you going to impact this on with that warning label? So it's clearly do not use impact wrench. Well, here's how you solve that problem. It's real quick and easy.
Let's go, microwave. I'm in a hurry here. Hey. What smells like blue?
Okay, so now that we'll be able to use this ball joint press with our impact driver, I will go ahead and get you boys set up here where you can see. We'll go ahead and disconnect our caliper and all the stuff we need to. 14 mils, hold it on. One bolt here, one on the back side. Down here. So once we get those two things off, we'll swing that out of the way and then take the sway bar end link off. And not to speed up too fast to give you a headache or anything, but you don't need to see me loosen this in real time, so just take the top and bottom bolts out, and then set them someplace where you're not going to lose them, and then pry the caliper off if it's stuck a little. There's a nice handy spot down there for it to hang, but you might also want to get some bungees to hold it in place, because vibrations, it's probably going to fall later once we start using the impact driver on it.
Okay, boys, that shouldn't be going nowhere. 15 mil is what we need to break this upper nut off of here that's holding the sway bar end link on. I know I have my hammers around here somewhere.
And just use your hammer to bash this thing free, and then keep loosening over and over again with your ratcheting wrench. And eventually she'll come out, but be prepared for it to be stuck in there pretty good, even if you use penetrating lube like I did.
Okay, boys, and to get this thing out of here, you're going to need one of these guys. A Pittsburgh 3/4 inch forged ball joint separator. This thing has proven invaluable in the past. We're going to use it on this guy. So how this works is, you need to slide this back here. This end is going to be pressing down on here, and then we have this threaded through here, and once we start torquing on it, it's going to, as a lever, press this forward, and as it presses down on this, it'll push that right out of here. That's the only way you're going to get this thing out of here. So you will need one of these, because if you try the old pickle fork method, or just bashing this thing, or putting, you'll be here all damn day. So if you're like me, ain't nobody got time for that. Now, unfortunately, there's a frame here, so I can't use the impact driver on this. I will have to use a ratchet. Alright, 19 mil. I suppose, I've already sprayed some penetrating lube back in there. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, as it was already a pain in the ass to get that nut off. I doubt this will help, but you never know. This is my special concoction of 50% acetone, 50% transmission fluid. Makes a nice little bubbly, fizzy, sizzling noise when you spray it on things. Squirt it on things, rather. And if you're like me, you might be a little gun shy after having a ball joint fly off on you once. So when that goes, it is kind of just kind of startled me. And that was no different, no exception. It startled me. But as you can see, it popped loose through there, so I can hammer that out the rest of the way. Alright, so down here, this one is a little bit different. There's a hole here in the frame, and that's because on the underside of this, which we cannot see, an Allen key fits in there. So you will have to stick your Allen key in here, and then loosen this guy while the Allen key holds this thing into position. Because if we attempt to get our wrench on here and loosen that, it's not gonna, it'll just spin, most likely. It did on the driver's side. I'll assume this side won't be any different. So just keep that in mind.
So if you get lucky like I did on this side, once you maneuver the suspension properly with another jack, you'll be able to have easy access to slip a ratchet on it and take that thing out of there. However, if it goes like it did on the driver's side for me, if you have that same problem where the ball joint area of that end link is also turning when you're trying to spin that nut, then you just shove the number 5 Allen key up in there, then use a wrench or ratcheting wrench, whatever you can get in there, and then eventually you'll get it loose. So each way has its pros and cons, as you'll soon see now.
Okay, and with that nut off, bam, because I was able to get it off without having to use the Allen key, a consequence of that is instead of just pulling this thing out like I did on the driver's side, we'll have to use my tool again to pop that out. So, you know, there are consequences to things going easy one way. That means they won't go so easy the other way. But as you can see, she's set up over here, so we'll just tighten her down, and then that'll pop out, and we'll be on our way to getting her done.
So in my case, I actually have that tool, so I can just use that to force the sway bar end link out of there. If you're not so lucky, you're going to have to bang on it from the underside or try to shock it, do something to pop it out of there. But I've got that tool that I used on the top part of the sway bar end link, so not a big deal for me to go ahead and use it on the bottom part and force that thing out of here. But just be aware of that. If the Allen key isn't used, you may have to try to force your end link out from the bottom.
And she's out, looking nasty and crusty as ever. So we'll get the new one in and we won't have any more squeaks, hopefully. Okay, boys, hopefully you can see in here. So what we got going on is we have our 24 deep showing on our nut. I have a ball joint type swivel and then another small extension here. And then with that we'll be able to get our impact driver on and then bust that nut loose. Once that comes off of there, we're going to use another tool to separate the ball joint from the knuckle, and then we'll be well on our way. Okay, boys, and to pop this lower ball joint out from the knuckle, we will be using this tool this time, as they can get a much better purchase and a better angle at it. So go ahead and hook it up and show you what it looks like. Okay, boys, and as you can see, this is how this sets up. So you just slide this from in here. So now the little claws are kind of clamping on the knuckle. This is set up in a way that's going to push down on the shaft as we tighten it with our ratchet here, and then that will eventually pop this ball joint out of here. So I think you can see here. Let me see. Yeah, you can kind of see. If I put you inside, you might actually be able to see me turning. Let's see. Alright, I think that's perfect.
Though this tool worked perfectly fine on the driver's side, over here on the passenger side, I didn't do so well with it, so I had to break out ye old pickle fork.
Okay, boys, the ball joint got popped out off camera, but she is off. I ended up actually having to use a pickle fork, because, well, this thing got a little on the stretched outside, and, that gap's a little bigger than it was earlier. Failed, but, pickle fork for the win. So she separated and cleaned up. There are a few things you need to be aware of. One, the shock is what's going to hold this up after that happens. So you may want to do what I did, which is get that extra jack that I have over here and just kind of put it under the control arm so when it pops loose it doesn't go all the way down. Another thing you have to be aware of is your dust shield here on the brake rotor, and it happened on the other side too, so I was keenly aware of it, and I still don't know how it happens. I'm not sure how this thing makes contact with this and shears it, but I'm guessing there's a small gap here, and somehow whenever this lets go, this is poking in through here, it catches here, and then it won't let you get the ball joint all the way out because it's now catching, so you have to, you know, force this down, rip it more the rest of the way to get the ball joint out from the knuckle. So it's kind of weird. I don't know how or why it does that, but just be aware that that's probably going to get in your way. I tried to keep it from doing it this time. There's nothing I could do. I don't know, maybe you can take it off or try to bend it or something. I don't know. But whatever. Alright, so now we're where we are. We get to do some fun stuff. So, ball joint doesn't have any up and down motion, but the boot was gone. There's no way to grease this lower one, so it had to come out and get replaced. Now, ball joint press kit. None of those are going to be big enough to clear this and give me the room to get the C-clamp and everything in here. So this is where we have to get our angle grinder, and we have to cut the ball joint off. Most of this post. Once we chop it off, we'll be able to press this thing out through the bottom, and then I'll show you the fun part, which is using our modified one to press the new ball joint in. So I'll get you set up where I think you can see the action, because I don't think I'm going to put you on the head cam for this. I might. We'll see. Alright, I hope you can see. Let's get her done. Okay, so let's get our cups on here and press this bitch out. Okay, boys, and this is what we're going to be using. So this is what's going to receive our ball joint. So this will go on the bottom under here, with this being supported in here at the bottom of the C-clamp. This is what we're going to use to press out. So that'll go there, and this will press down on it. Let's see if we can set her up. Okay, so after some wiggling and all that, we have the setup where I think we can press it out. So get her done. I think we need to recharge the battery. Alright, fresh battery time. Well, that was easy. How the fuck is this ball joint not out yet? It's out now. Gone. Alright. Now comes the other fun part, but we're going to do that a bit. We're going to recharge the one Makita battery, and I'm going to eat lunch and drink some water and chill for a minute, and then when I come back, finish it up. So several minutes for me, maybe an hour, and a couple seconds for you.
A few minutes later.
Alright boys, I'm back and refreshed. So we got this hung up and out of the way. I managed to kind of clean the inside of all this. Ditto for all our other holes. So here's what we're doing. I got this jacked up so the C-clamp can clear the ground. Hopefully I can get the impact driver on there. If not, we'll jack it up a little more. Ditto for the car's frame, but it has to go up high enough for our C-clamp to come in and clear with our impact driver attached. And this battery's charging the other one. Okay, here's a new ball joint. Non-greasable, but at least we have a boot on this one. Okay, so I'm going to get it set up with our different cups and everything, and our new-fangled C-clamp modified, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, boys, we're set up. The neighbor's blasting loud, obnoxious music because he knows I'm out here recording.
and this car offends him, so don't mind his music or my music. I have to counteract that. So, sorry for the low quality for the rest of the video, but here's how we have it set up. So we have this very small, very short adapter here that fits right up around this lip, and that's going to, after we cut it down the side, our 22 mil and our impact, after this and that's jacked up high enough, that'll press it in, and then this is what we have receiving it. That's a big enough diameter, it goes around the control arm, and then of course there's a hole down in there for our ball joint to go up through. So this should be as easy as that, just impacting it straight on there. So let's get her done. As long as I don't get in your way, I think you can see. Well, she's pressed in. Alright, now I can undo all this crap. Slide there, down in there, and torque to 129 foot-pounds. Alright, boys, and we have a new 24 millimeter nut that comes with it. We're set to 129 foot-pounds, torque to spec. Alright, always like double check my work. 2 clicks. Alright, and while this is up in this position, jacked up, that should allow us to get the sway bar end link through here and torqued. And then hopefully through there, but we'll see about that. May have to adjust this up or down accordingly to simulate an equal load on both wheels. Alright, lower the suspension a scotch. That way we can fit this in here and clear that. This is a 19 millimeter, by the way, in our new kit. So, as you can see, we can only tighten it so much. And then it's going to start spinning. So you will need Allen key to hold it, probably. Unless this one doesn't spin. Unless I get lucky like freaking twice in one day. Stranger things have happened. You know what? I'm not going to kick a gift horse. Look, a gift horse in the mouth. That's a 19 mil, right? We'll torque it on as far as we can with the ratchet then. Go down a little. There, I should be able to clear that. Okay, wheels are straight, and now we just got to kind of jack this up to where this will line up and go right in that hole. There we go. Alright. What size is this? Bigger than a 15? A 17? It is. We'll use the old ratcheting wrench then. Alright, so there's going to be no way you can get a torque wrench on this, so we're just going to go pretty tight. If that's okay with you guys.
That's pretty tight. Alright. Well, that's it, boys. At this point, all we need to do is put the caliper back on, and we're road ready. So, I think I can handle that. No, I don't need to include it. So, we got our new sway bar end link bolted in place. New lower ball joint. This one's still greasable, but maneuvering this thing around has blown these rolls left of the boots completely out. So I guess for now I'll go ahead and pump some grease up in here and up in here in my pitman arm. And well, I guess the next video then is going to be upper ball joints, since this boot's blown out and the one on the other side's not quite as bad as that, but I'm sure it won't take long before it reaches this condition either. So look forward to the next Crown Vic video being upper ball joints. But if you want to know how to do the lower ball joints, that's it. You're going to need one ball joint press kit, a second one if you destroy the first one, or if you don't have a lift, or if you wanted to do it one-time use, you can jack it up from the middle, the whole car up in the middle. That way both front wheels are up. Use the one kit to press everything out, then hack it off, and then press them both back in. You could do that, but I would recommend getting a lift so you can get it higher, and then you don't have to destroy yours. Or do what I did and just buy two. Sacrifice one for install, and then keep the longer one factory for ball joint removal. So that's it, boys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope that helps you either replace your ball joints or decide whether or not you wanted to, or say, nah, I'm gonna pay someone to do that. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.